Just want to show you some of my tackle, what I've got, what I use, various things laid out here. This is my terminal tackle box. I've got my jig heads, 1/16 ounce, pretty much all I use. Different colors, some with sickle hooks, some with round bend hooks, live bait hooks, split shot, various egg weights, jig spinners, rooster tails, crankbaits, which I haven't experimented with much, but I will this summer. Float stops, beads, barrel swivels, snap swivels. My line, I use 8-pound trilene. Not that I'm promoting trilene or 8-pound line. It's pretty much personal preference what each individual wants to use. I just use 8 pounds. Some use heavier, some use lighter, some use high vis. I just prefer 8-pound. Floats for single pole jigging. Now the different jigs that I use, I've got two laid out here. This is a round bend hook, number 4 round bend. This is a number 2 sickle hook. As you can see, it's a lot bigger gap on it. I believe from my experience that you get better hookups, you get more fish in the boat, more bang for the buck. These are my live bait hooks. I've got the round bend and the sickle hooks for minnows. I prefer the sickle hooks. The round bend hooks, the only thing I'll use them for is for fishing for brim. I got my leaders tied up here. I pre-tie them, they're ready to go. We've got a snap swivel at the one end, and then the jig tied on with a loop knot. I've got one here with a spinner on it to show you what it looks like. Now I prefer a loop knot versus a direct tie line to jig. I believe it gives more action, looks more natural. I prefer to use the loop knot versus, now some direct tie, some don't. That's all personal preference. This is my crappie rigs that I use. These are actually, you can buy them in the store. You can buy some with weights and wires from Mr. Crappie. They got the Troll Tech. They're all ready to go. These are actually, I bought these in a package from South Bend. Eagle Claw makes them. Now, I don't care for the way theirs are made. So I want the hardware. That's all I want off of, it's the hardware. So I break them down, take them apart. I got a barrel swivel at the top and the bead, and then this arm, which will rotate 360 degrees, giving freedom of movement for a jig or a minnow or whatever I've got attached at the top. And then down at the bottom I'll have my weight. This happens to be a 1/2 ounce weight, and a barrel swivel. I've got some already made up with 1/2 ounce, some made up with 3/4 ounce. They're ready to go. The beauty of this rig is that I can run 2 jigs or 2 minnows, a minnow and a jig, whichever I want to do. One on the bottom, separated by about 2 feet, give or take. And there are 100 different ways to make crappie jigs. You can use 3-way swivels. The reason I prefer this arm out here is it keeps my leader line set out away from the main line. It kind of helps, I think, keep it separated, not get tangled up. If you got several of these running at one time, you got fish on, you're grabbing rods, you got lines going everywhere, you can have a mess. This just helps, I think, eliminate some of that. I'm not saying it doesn't get tangled. I'm just saying this helps. Some days I'll run 2, some days I'll just run a single. just depending on what the fish want, what the conditions are. And when I tie my leaders up, I tie them up, they're ready to go, and I use these pool noodles. You can buy these pool noodles at Walmart or anywhere. They're cheap. You cut them into sections. You can use them to separate your different colors or different types. I've got black with a couple spinners on them, some without. I've got unpainted ones. I've got white ones. These are all sickle hook jig heads that I use. I like this setup here, because you take it out, you're ready to go, you put them on. When you're done, you take them off. You don't have all your tackle all tangled up and in a mess, and you're aggravated. So no muss, no fuss. You're ready to go. This box here is my lure box. You got different colors, different types. These are solid body with skirts on them. White, chartreuse, electric chicken, pink, various colors. I've got little swim baits, little paddle tail swim baits. These here are made by Johnson. They actually have a cavity underneath where you can squeeze some scent up inside of them if you care to. I've got some that are bright colored, some that are a little more natural, like this right here, which would to me would look like a baby bass. And it's got a curly tail on it. Some have a lot of action, some don't. Some are really, really big. This one here is a very large bait. It's got a lot of action to it. These here are made by these are the Fin Commander. I've used them some, had some success with them. It all just depends what the crappie want that day. I've got some with small bodies, some with big bodies, hollow bodies, solid bodies, straight tails, curly tails, and of course some grub bodies. Now, the newest addition to my arsenal would be these Gulp minnows. I haven't had much success with artificial baits out here lately. I had to go to pretty much to just all minnows. Now, my problem with that is that I don't live close to a bait shop, so I try to reduce the cost and time that I have invested in it. So, looking for an alternative to live bait, I thought I'd try this. This here is it's called smelt color. They've got some liquid in there that you can buy them in jars, but they come in the liquid. I just bought this pack here to give it a shot. They feel real, they look real. They've got a fishy smell to them because it's got some of that liquid in there. And I tried them last weekend, and then they seemed to work quite well and fooled them. So I think these are gonna get used a lot. So I would wish that I had a bait shop close by, but we don't. And the closest one to me to get quality minnows is about 15 miles, so one way. So, and I also bring with me a light to put on my hat if I stay out after dark, which, depending on where you are, what type of water you're fishing. The water here at this place is a spring-fed lake. It's clear about 98% of the time. So sometimes I like to fish after dark. You can catch a lot of them after dark because with this water being so, sometimes it's super clear. You can see to the bottom in some areas, and that light penetrates a long way. So sometimes it's advantageous to stay out after dark. So now, as I grow and learn, this will change. My arsenal will grow. I'll have different things, try new things. And this will change. And, if I get something new or something different, I'll update and show you, what it looks like and the results and how it works. And one more thing about these rigs that I make. I use 40-pound line. I've seen where most people use a 20 to 30 pound, but I happen to have a spool of 40-pound line in my closet that I'd use for catfishing, so it works well, and I just use it. I prefer a little stiffer, heavier line to keep the line separated and from getting tangled up. And with a double rig, I want a little bit more strength and rigidity to it, so I use 40-pound line, but it's pretty much up to the individual how they want to use it. Like I said, you can buy the ones that are already made up and just tie it to your main line, throw weight on it, you're ready to go. Some already have weights on it. You just have to put your jigs or hooks on it. So that's pretty much up to you what you want to do. So that's my tackle in a nutshell. And in future videos, I'll show you how I tie a loop knot to tie my jigs on, and I'll show you my rods and then my setups.